I'm joined now by Senator John Ossoff. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.
So we have watched as the Republicans have staked so much of their credibility, so much of their identity on releasing these Epstein files. There was just a vote in the House, and all of the Republicans came together unanimously to vote against advancing this effort to release the Epstein files. Can I have your reaction, first and foremost, to hearing so much about this issue that they purportedly cared so deeply about, and now when they have the opportunity to actually substantiate what they said and get these files into the daylight, they're the ones who served as the major impediment to it?
Yeah, I mean, none of this adds up. And, you play a supercut of all of these MAGA figures and officials promising to do this. Even the Attorney General, as recently as a couple months ago, what she was saying to the Congress about having all these files on her desk and getting ready to release them. The president's posts on Truth Social over the weekend, I think, really revealed a deep insecurity and almost a panic about the 180 that they're doing on this issue. And I think that for the president's supporters, this issue of broken promises, whether it's the Epstein files or his promise to end the wars, which are still raging, or his promise to increase U.S. oil drilling, which is declining, or his promise to lower prices, which are still rising, or his promise to be for working people when they're defunding nursing homes and hospitals and clinics to fund tax cuts for the rich, his promise to tackle the national debt, which is exploding. I mean, it's adding up, and I'm hearing it from Republicans in Georgia that all of the broken promises are really damaging the president's base and their confidence in this administration.
And that's what I wanted to dig into a little bit, because you have, well, the advantage of you being here is that, you are a Democrat in a very purple state, but also we have the advantage of being able to see what arguments resonate with folks on the other side. I mean, you're not in a big blue bastion like New York or California. And so on this issue in particular, is this breaking through? Because I think Democrats largely viewed, the Epstein part is a small piece of what is a broader theme that you've just pointed out there. But is that kind of thing breaking through to his regular base? Are you hearing from people who you wouldn't otherwise have heard from or been able to be effective with as the result of kind of this breakdown of trust?
Well, it's not just the Epstein files. I mean, obviously, the changing stories and the obvious lies and the 180 on Epstein is in the headlines right now. But there are a huge number of Republicans in Georgia who have even stated publicly their opposition, for example, to gutting all of the renewable energy and advanced energy manufacturing incentives that have supported Georgia's economic growth, their deep concern about what's going to happen to nursing homes and hospitals and health clinics that have been defunded. And on economic policy, right, where this was supposed to be some kind of new populist pro-working class GOP, right? That was the whole Steve Bannon model. As they were building this legislation, you started to hear some of those voices within the MAGA movement actually sound the alarm that this was a betrayal of the principles that they had stated on the campaign trail. And there are not voters in Georgia who want to defund hospitals and nursing homes.
Right.
To pay for tax cuts for ultra wealthy people. That's not popular anywhere.
Well, I think the most insidious part of this whole effort by Republicans is that a lot of these cuts were purposefully put in and timed so that they would have the least political impact for the political party that passed them. And so a lot of this stuff won't take full effect until after the midterms, for example. Some of it won't even take effect until after Trump's out of office. Some of the good stuff goes away when Republicans will leave office. So they timed all of this stuff so they can extract the most political benefit or mitigate the most political harm for themselves. And is that something that folks in Georgia are recognizing, that even though this stuff might have been timed so that it wouldn't hurt them, that people are still paying attention to what's going on, and then they know the full breadth of what's happening with the Medicaid cuts, with the food stamp cuts, with the rural hospital cuts, with the energy job cuts, and so on?
Yeah, that's not going to work. I mean, hospitals, nursing homes, clinics in Georgia and across the country are already now facing this financial cliff. and it ain't that far away.
Yeah.
A lot of the nutrition programs start going away pretty much straight away. The lapsing of the Affordable Care Act benefits that help middle class families afford health insurance premiums will go away next year. So you've got all of this policy that's bad for working families, bad for seniors and kids and pregnant women and rural communities, and all for what? For a tax cut that overwhelmingly goes to the wealthy. And it just exposes that the corruption in Washington is as deep as ever. I mean, if you go out and ask anybody on the street in Georgia, Democrat, Republican, Independent, what do we really need to achieve to advance our national interest, to help families thrive and flourish and achieve prosperity and health and greater freedom? Like, the rich people needing more tax cuts is no one's priority, but it's what this Republican Congress and this administration produced, because the corruption in Washington is so deep that they almost can't avoid just being responsive to their donors.
Is there a sense from the Republicans or independents who you've spoken with, because the GOP's platform was so focused on populist promises, right? Lower grocery costs, lower egg costs, lower housing costs, lower rent costs. And they've done the polar opposite. And that's notwithstanding all of the other things that they've lied about, whether it's the Ukraine-Russia war, whether it's releasing the Epstein files, whatever it may be, whether it's, ushering in some manufacturing renaissance and instead Donald Trump is engaged in a trade war that's left us isolated on the world stage. Is the fact that there was such a blatant kind of bait and switch that took place, is that having some impact on the voters that you've spoken with? Because this is like the thing that Trump and Republicans promised these voters. It is so far and away what they're antithetical to what they're actually delivering on. And I'm wondering, like, in a media environment where everything is so bifurcated, where it often feels like politics is we're all so calcified in our polarization, is that stuff actually breaking through and having an impact?
100%. I mean, look, I've got a lot of Republican supporters and friends in Georgia who express to me privately how upset they are about the way this agenda is being implemented, about the sense of broken promises, and also they recognize that it's a political disaster for the GOP in Georgia to have defunded hospitals and clinics to pay for tax cuts for the rich. And the flip side of this is that for Democrats and for folks who oppose this administration, I've never seen a level of mobilization and enthusiasm and determination like I am right now. And here in Georgia, where I am the only Democratic senator up for re-election in a state that Donald Trump won, right? It is the most important Senate race of the midterm elections. The only path out of this spiral into authoritarianism and chaos and corruption means regaining power in Congress. We have to win this race. I am feeling that enthusiasm in Georgia. We had more than 1,000 people come out on short notice in Savannah to that rally last weekend. But I want to ask your audience to help, because they're going to spend, I think, probably $500 million to try to unseat me. I'm the #1 target for destruction by the whole MAGA apparatus, and I need help.
And I'm going to put your campaign link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Highly recommend anybody who's watching right now. Georgia, as the senator just mentioned, is going to be ground zero for their attacks. And so if you have an opportunity to give, or you're going to give at some point in this campaign cycle, do it early, because the earlier we have the opportunity to actually get on the airwaves and define Senator Ossoff before the Republicans have to do it, the better off we'll be. And I want to finish off with this, because we did see so much of an affirmative message from Trump and Republicans as we were heading into 2024. And so often it's felt like Democrats were either pushing an anti-Trump, anti-Republican message, or just kind of had some, we'd have Democrats in red states who would just kind of do Republican light. And if you're going to do Republican light, you're not going to energize the base. And if you have a Republican out there, they're probably just going to vote for a regular Republican instead of a Republican light. And so what is your affirmative message to folks in Georgia as we head toward 2026?
I think that there's an even deeper reform and anti-corruption message that we have to take to the nation, that I'm taking across Georgia, that resonates with Democrats and Republicans and independents, which is that our political system, even before Donald Trump came on the scene, was the most corrupt in the Western world. And the way that corporate money and secret money and billionaire money rule everything, and the way that members of Congress live in fear of these super PACs, that's what has distorted policymaking so that ordinary people can't get ahead. That's why insurance premiums are out of control. That's why drug costs are so high. That's why an ambulance costs $3,000. That's why the housing market's overrun with hedge funds and private equity funds. It's the corruption in our political system, especially post Citizens United. And for us to be able to deliver for working and middle class families across the country, we have to reform this broken, corrupt political system. And I think that we can build a very broad coalition to get that done.
Well, I appreciate the time today. And again, a reminder for everybody watching, Senator Ossoff is one of the most important voices that we have in the Senate and certainly represents generational change in a way that very few people in the Senate do. So if we have the opportunity to contribute to his campaign, help him stay there, I'm going to put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. If you're listening on the podcast, it'll be in the show notes. Senator Ossoff, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.